Everyone to Hot Flashes and Cool Topics. My name is Colleen.
I'm Bridgett.
And it's our happy hour time on Thursdays at 4 o'clock. And I, of course, forgot to turn the volume down on my phone.
She's echoing.
Yes. I know.
That's all right.
We have Dr. Ellen Albertson and Bonnie Frank who are here with us. Thank you, ladies.
Great to be here.
Nice to be here. Thanks.
Going on.
I'd like to have that. I have water.
Oh, I have my French 75
cup.
Yes. I have coffee, as always.
Yes.
What does it say?
My mug says, hold on, let me overreact.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. That to me through the screen. That's
yeah.
But we're going to talk today about a couple different things. Self-care, feeling in control, out of control, gratitude, journaling. But before we start with the topic of gratitude, I wanted to say that I am grateful for my co-host, Bridgett, because Miss Bridgett, she is doing, while we are on isolation, she is doing a thing called Story Time with Mrs. Bridgett. She was an elementary school teacher before this, and she has been taping story times. And she was on Good Morning America last week.
And I didn't even know it.
Did you know I was on Good Morning America? I'm like, what?
I didn't know it. I got an email just like, and when you get something like that, you think it's a joke. Like you see, ABC, Good Morning America. And I'm like, this is probably a scam. But then I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll fill out the little thing. Because I had connected with someone. I really think it might be through our Hot Flashes website or not website, but Facebook page. And someone sent my stories to this person at Children's Hospital in Washington. And so I just sent them some tapes of me reading. And then I got the thing like, do we have your permission? And I was like, yes, And then she sent me something. Hey, did you know it was on Friday? And I was like, no. So she sent me a link.
My only complaint was that she was not wearing her Hot Flashes and Cool Topics t-shirt.
You couldn't even see it was neck up anyway.
But anyway, I digress. But I wanted to
right across there.
Yeah, I should have had a hat on or something.
We are very proud of her.
Yeah. So I was really excited.
Great thing. So that she's finding control in the out of control time. She found something that she loves to do, and we're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
But first, we wanted to talk about. Well, first, can you guys, Dr. Ellen, start with you. Tell us a little bit about what you do.
Sure. Well, I'm kind of a one-stop shop for all your midlife needs. So body, mind, heart, spirit, energy, relationships, career, and having more fun, because midlife is like a great time to create this amazing second adulthood. So I'm like, midlife crisis, forget about it. Let's create something really cool. So I work with women at midlife to help them transform on whatever level they want to transform.
That's awesome. And Bonnie, we have already learned a lot from you in our podcasting journey. So thank you. But can you tell people what you do?
Sure. So I am also a former elementary school and middle school teacher and college professor. And I'm now a business coach. And so I help women start and grow online businesses.
Mm-hmm. And, for the listeners, she started without having any knowledge of any of that and taught herself. So
because I know elementary ed, you didn't get a lot of business classes, with that major.
No. I've never had a business class, actually. So, yeah.
And usually to show that you can do anything you want if you're willing to put the hard work into it.
Yep.
So
she has a fabulous Business Fabulous podcast.
Yeah. Exactly. Business Fabulous. And we'll have that information too. So, Dr. Ellen, let's talk a little bit about self-care during the isolation. Off this, we were talking about how people are kind of running the gamut from maybe drinking a little too much, eating a little too much, Netflixing a little bit too much. Is that a verb? Netflixing?
It should be.
It is now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It is now. Oh, I created a new word.
We knew what you meant. So yes, it is. Yeah.
Tiger King OD.
Can you talk about that and how it's going with isolation and self-care?
Yeah, I think what's happening is everything in our lives are shifting. So a lot of the things that you did formerly, like going to the gym and, maybe taking yoga classes any kind of like group X, all of those kinds of things, and just the things that you enjoy doing, going out, like that's all gone. And so I think it's really hard. People actually, it's mindset to a large extent. People think it's hard, but on the flip side, what I'm finding is there's so much great stuff online. I'm actually finding that I'm doing more yoga because my yoga studio is like online. I can do it every day for the convenience of my home. So I think part of it is that when we're in fear mode, and let's face it, we're all being faced with fear and uncertainty, what happens is that we go into fight and flight. Our cortisol levels go up. And so what we want for relief is we want distractions. We want to go right to the dopamine, right? Sex, drugs, rock and roll, Netflix, all of that kind of stuff.
Chocolate,
absolutely. Because, we were not trained. We don't have resources to deal with difficult emotions. And let's face it, I know I'm experiencing grief. I got a kid in Europe. I have parents who are 1,000 miles away. People are worried about their business, their finances, their health. And so when we're in that fear mode, we want to go right into, I'll have a threesome with Ben and Jerry's, as I watch The Tiger King, a little bit.
Happened at my house. There is a camera.
The drone. I've seen it flying over.
Yeah. But we're laughing about it, but it's a reality. And I've seen a huge increase with my tribe of, people who had eating disorders or disordered eating, emotional eating was totally under control for years. And I even saw myself when this first hit, I was like, I'm just eating macaroni and cheese. So what you need to do is learn how to care for your difficult emotions to sort of create this spacious awareness. We can talk more about that, more about self-compassion. Turn on that cognitive, that big mammalian brain, and pause for a moment as you're going to the refrigerator mindlessly because you just want to feel better. And so what happens, we eat those things, we do those things, we're distracted, we feel better temporarily, but then after the fact, we're still feeling crappy. We got the same difficult emotions. And on top of that, we just, consume something that really wasn't so great for us. So self-care is really important now. And so I think what I'm doing with my clients is we're really creating a new self-care plan, and we have more time to do it. So conversely, it's a really good time to say, yeah, I'm going to get my body in shape. So I'm going to start a new workout regime. I'm going to improve my diet. I'm going to work on my sleep. So we have extra time, even if you're just saying, well, I'm still working, but you're not commuting. So we have extra time for self-care, but I think we have to really be very mindful about creating space to take care of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And along those lines of self-care and maybe taking control of creating, a schedule and doing things, Bonnie, how have you been kind of balancing control versus lack of control during the situation?
Well, I would just like to put on the record that a pint of Ben and Jerry's is one serving. It is a single serving. I don't care what anyone says.
I'm a sponsor, so I'm all for Ben and Jerry's.
So there's that. So I'll still do that. And I happen to feel very strongly about Netflix, Hulu, and Amazon Prime. So I don't feel that you can have too much of that. But when there's those days or those periods, or like people like to say seasons, when there's the times in your life, whether it's right now with COVID-19 or not right now, or sometime in the future, where things get a little too hairy and and you feel out of control, I allow myself to feel sorry for myself. I do. I give myself at least 30 minutes. Lots of times that's not hard because it'll take longer. And sometimes I just take the day off and I'm like, you know what? And I acknowledge it to myself like, that's all right. I'm taking the day off. Nothing is going to blow up. My business is not going to go out of business. I'm not going to end up on the street because I took the day off. It's okay. And I'm going to go back to it tomorrow. And today I'm going to stay in my pajamas and I'm going to eat that Ben and Jerry's. I'm going to watch some Netflix. And I'm going to take a nap and I'm going to call it a day and I'm going to try again tomorrow. And I allow myself to do that, but I don't allow myself to do that and then the same thing the next day and then the same thing the next day. So I give myself a minimum of 30 minutes and sometimes it'll be a whole day or sometimes it'll be somewhere in the middle. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to feel sorry for myself now. And I literally acknowledge that in those words in my head.
Mm.
And you find that helps, so the next day you kind of recharge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I needed to feel sorry for myself there's no one here, literally, who's going to be feeling sorry for me. And I'm very much, a suck it up kind of a person. My dad was a fighter pilot in World War II. Okay, so there's that. So, a lot of me is just suck it up and move on. But sometimes you do need to feel sorry for yourself. And I acknowledge that. And I do whatever I need to do in terms of self-care. And sometimes that means eating ice cream. And sometimes it might mean yoga. And sometimes it might mean meditation or a walk around the block. So it can mean a lot of different things. It can look like a lot of different things. But I need to do something, even if it's just a nap. And I give myself permission. And that's, and part of that is telling yourself it's okay. Like you've seen the memes, like it's okay not to be okay. It's totally okay not to be okay. I don't know anyone who's okay right now. I feel like everyone's losing it. So it's totally okay. And I give myself permission. I acknowledge that. I'm like, okay, check, feel sorry for yourself, do this. Then I'm going to move on.
Have you found that the weather really affects how you're feeling? It always kind of affected me anyway, but it's more so now. It's amplified. So on a beautiful day, I can go out and take these walks, and it's just, I look so forward to a gorgeous day. And then today's been kind of nasty, rainy, but now the sun's coming out a little bit. But that has just really messed with my mind. Like I did do my yoga this morning because I kind of had one of your, I feel sorry for myself days yesterday. And today was like, I have got to get on my yoga class online. I've got to do that. And then, I felt better. I got ready. And then my husband's working from home. And I was like, hey, the sun's coming out. And he's like, I don't know. It looks like it might rain. I don't know if we'll get a walk in today. He had like a break between meetings. And I'm like, So that has really been something that it's just intensified. I wonder if that's happened a lot, Dr. Ellen, to some of your patients that, I think you said it did. Kind of.
Yeah, well, it's certainly the weather impacts us, and certainly that sunlight piece. So I actually recommend that people get those lights that you can put on. And it, particularly, I know you talk about hot flashes. If you have and I have one here, I put it on like for 15 minutes in the morning. They're like, $30 on Amazon. And so that can really help. So some of it is like that sunlight. We really need that. And they've actually done some, one of my nutrition friends was saying that one of the reasons Florida may be doing better is because of vitamin D. So I think part of it is just like craving that sunlight. So, but I agree with what Bonnie said. I mean, I find myself having days where I feel like today was the day I felt great. And of course it is sunny out today. So I think there's definitely a correlation there. And then days, like you said, that I don't feel crappy. The only thing, like a small tweak, is not so much feeling sorry for myself, but sort of giving myself compassion for feeling what I'm feeling, and just really asking, what do I really need right now to feel better? And just the act of turning towards yourself, because like you would a good friend. And that's sort of the essence of the self-compassion piece of just like, yeah, this sucks right now. Like I miss going out and having fun and seeing people I love and hugging people and seeing my kids, and I'm worried. But being there for yourself in those times and figuring out, what do I really need right now to feel better? So just as kind of a little different mental tweak of like, not so much I'm feeling sorry, but more of a, wow, this hurts. Just like if you had a friend who hurts, you'd be like, are you okay? What do you need? How can I help you feel better? But I totally agree with you, Bonnie, that there are days that I don't stay in my pajamas for me, though, because we all have to figure out what's best for us. But I know for me, I allow myself, like today, I allowed myself to some days I'll allow myself to sleep in a little bit more, or to not hit the computer and do a ton of work. And just being easy with yourself is super important, and figuring out for each of us what we really need to feel better.
And a question.
I feel like everything is amplified right now. Like, how sometimes the barometric pressure will affect people. I feel like if that's a thing, that is even more amplified. If it's a new moon or a full moon, I don't know the difference, that's more amplified. I feel like, especially right now, like people's emotions, I feel like people are more on edge. They'll overreact a lot sooner, or they'll underreact, kind of like they're just like without emotion, where maybe they wouldn't normally be like that. I feel very strongly people are losing it. And it makes me worried. Thank God there's not a world war, because we would all be decimated immediately, because we can't even handle staying at home with our children. But I feel like everything is more right now. And I know with my clients, like you mentioned, online workouts, one of my clients has a gym, and of course he had to shut down. And so I'm helping him create a membership site so all of his workouts can be online. But that took a paradigm shift for him. It took a completely mental shift, because really, before talking with me, he truly felt like everybody's got to be there in person. And I'm like, no, they don't, because I'm never showing up. I want to get it on my phone. So it's finding that new normal. And like Dr. Ellen said, like giving ourselves permission and being okay with whatever it is we need now. And so that we can go on.
We have somebody asking a question that, how do they deal with that guilt of allowing themselves to feel bad? Like on those days where you just eat the Ben & Jerry's, or your energy level is low and you may not go on the computer, and there's a lot of guilt with it. How do you kind of say it's okay? Like, it's okay to feel this way and not have guilt associated, especially for women who are used to multitasking and doing everything for everyone.
I would say, first of all, guilt is not a productive emotion unless you're changing your behavior. So when my clients come to me and they're, I'm feeling guilty about that, I'm asking them like, well, is that really productive? And I think that gives you a little bit of a break. And I think like what Bonnie just said too, is that there's this common humanity right now, like realizing it's not just me, that we're all experiencing this. So just that piece of self-compassion where you're giving yourself a break, where you're going, you know what, I need this right now. And maybe, if you're feeling the guilt and it was a behavior that you're feeling like, gosh, I wish I hadn't done that. Well, then just learn and don't do the next thing. So maybe next time you just want to bring in like a mini cup of Ben & Jerry's. Like I tell my clients all the time to be mindful about eating.
Like the small packets, yeah.
A small packet, or like a small pack of chips, or maybe you'll be like, okay, I'm just going to watch an hour of TV and then have something else to do. So if you're finding that your guilt is because it's in conflict with a value, like maybe your value is health and wellness, or maybe you have a value about getting work done or learning something. Maybe it's telling you something that you want to change your behavior, and then just change it, learn from it, you move on. Because it's like, the Buddha talks about, like, you shoot yourself in the foot, you hurt your foot and then you shoot yourself in the foot. Like, beating yourself up after you've done something that you feel bad about doesn't help you. It only shuts you down. And we're already in this sort of cortisol shitstorm, which is why people, again, the cortisol levels are super high, which is addressing what Bonnie said, where people are all super revved up. They're either in frozen mode or maybe fight mode. Things like domestic abuse is really going up. So, be nice to yourself. We all just need to give ourselves a break. So I guess the short answer is just learn from it, move on. It's a great self-forgiveness is so powerful right now. Just like, I made a mistake, so I learned from it. Next time I won't bring in the gallon of ice cream from Costco. I'll just get like a mini cup and enjoy it mindfully.
Well, and one thing that, I feel very strongly, and this took me years, by the way, years to get to this point, but I feel very strongly that guilt and happiness are choices. Everybody has the same opportunities 24 hours a day. Everybody's got, unless they're going to die, in which case you're dead. So there you go. Doesn't matter. So, but as long as you're here, you've got the same 24 hours that everybody else has, even Oprah, the same exact amount of seconds to make a difference and do whatever it is that you want to accomplish on this planet in that same 24-hour day. You can be happy. You can feel miserable. You can be depressed. You can feel guilty, or you can start taking care of yourself and make a difference for not just that 24 hours, but for every other block of 24 hours that you're on the planet. And I'm going to put something in the comments, which is a Save Your Sanity link. So I made the second that I saw what was going on in Italy and abroad with COVID-19, it was only a matter of time before the inevitable happened. And so I created a free PDF, Sanity Saving Techniques. And the first third of them are if you don't have kids at home. And then second 2/3 are if you do have kids at home. I'm a former teacher and college prof. And then the last portion of it is a list of children's books for grades 3 through 8 with strong female protagonists. So there's
great.
I'll have to read some of those. Yeah.
Along the lines of having kids at home, Dr. Ellen, we've spoken to you before about this. A lot of parents were empty nesters up until about a month ago, and they're having to deal with having kids home that they were not mentally prepared to have home. How do you suggest coping with that?
So you're talking about older children?
Yeah, I'm talking about college.
Right. So, I think that it's really important to have some boundaries. So to setting up right up front that, these are the expectations, these are the boundaries, and also feeling empowered about getting your needs met. I work with clients all the time with something called nonviolent communication. So just simply saying, you observe, I have a 19-year-old son, and, observing like, hey, Marcus, you left your backpack right in the middle of the living room floor. When you do that, it just makes me feel like I've got to pick up after you. That makes me feel really kind of angry and frustrated. I am asking you to please not leave your stuff around. And my request is to go pick up your backpack and put it away. So I think sometimes as women, we feel like we have to take care of everything and everybody and all their stuff. And what ends up happening is then we go into anger mode, right? Because it just blows up. We like, I'll just do it. I'll do it. And then all of a sudden we're like, ah, but you've got to ask to get your needs met. And the same thing, if you've got a partner at home too. But like I think with those older kids, we can't really tell them what to do because they're adults or close to being adult. But we need to set expectations and boundaries and get our needs met, and not going into this place where I'm going to do all the cooking for you, all the cleaning up. If you don't clean up your dishes, then you're banned from the kitchen. You can't make food. But so really setting some clear boundaries up front, and expecting them to help out too. Mm-hmm. Expecting them to do chores, to mow the lawn, to, unload the dishwasher, whatever that is. Maybe you guys are first grade teachers with like a chore chart or something where there's some expectation, or they're going to walk all over you.
Mm-hmm. And it doesn't matter how old your child is. It truly doesn't matter. I mean, my kids are 21 and 24 now, and they've been washing all of their own clothes since they were 14 and 15 because they were athletes, and that stuff is disgusting. And they went through a lot of it in a day because they were training constantly. And so that was the very first thing I taught them how to do. And then I taught myself to close their bedroom door. And that gave me a lot it's because women, we do take it all on. It's just, we're born that way. We take it all on, and it's partly our own fault. But since it's always going to be there, just shut the door.
I've learned to do that because mine are back, and mine did not live here they never really lived in this house that I live in because we moved here after they were both graduated from high school and both in college. And this has never been their home where we live now, but they both came back for this. And it's funny, they both did their own laundry. I did not ask them when their clothes ran out. They went into the wash. They did it themselves. Not that it's been a piece of cake because it hasn't, but rather than feeling upset that they were back, and Colleen will know this about me, I was thrilled to have them back. I was because I still was mourning them. And my daughter graduated from college in December of 2018. My son graduated in 2017. So they haven't been here for a while. So I was still in that mourning. I still miss them. So it felt like I just got this once in a lifetime chance back with them. And one of my sisters feels the same way. She's so funny. Her children she has one though that's in the Air Force. So he is not at all at home, but her other three are with her, and she's like, I got a reprieve. So we're feeling this whole, hey, we got our kids back right now. But there are things, like the dishes, and you see the things sitting around, and that you're like, I could just, when you were describing that, Dr. Ellen, I'm like, oh yeah, I know. You just get madder and madder. But it is funny. That was one thing, the laundry, and the upstairs is just awful. I was telling Colleen, my guest room has 2 full-size beds. And my son went in there to use the TV with that room, and he got in both beds. I'm like, I'm not touching those beds till you go back, and like you said, close the door. And Bonnie says, close the door. I've just closed the door. So.
See, I like obsess over it. If the door is closed, I'm like, there's a mess in there. There's a mess in there. And my control is like, I have a control issue. I freely admit it. But everyone will attest to it. But I have a controls issue. And it's just hard for me to close that door. But you're right. I like, what the right thing to do is, but the follow through, it's just.
You get your point where you can't take it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And
then you're afraid to open the door because you're like, oh.
Because you can't, because you're sliding stuff. But yeah.
But I love, Bridgett, that you see that silver lining too. If we can, and I know, I think that's a big thing right now too, is like who's just making nothing, just like burgers again for dinner. It's like not worrying about the cleaning, the expectations. I think we're all like, have you washed your hair? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of nice in a way that we're letting go of some of these expectations about the way things need to look. And even we're letting go of so much of this like consumerism, like I have to have my house perfect and I have to live a certain way and look a certain way. And just relaxing that and understanding what's really important is that your loved ones are safe and that we stay healthy. But I love that you're enjoying being with your kids. That's cool.
I'd love to. And I will say I've spent so much less or not spent as much money. It's amazing because I've talked to Colleen. We always talk about my husband and I, our hobbies were to go to dinner, try a new restaurant every Saturday night. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we haven't been going to these restaurants. We have saved so much money just not going to them. And fortunately, we haven't had a job loss. Now, my son right now is not, he was in the film industry in Los Angeles, and that's like at a grinding halt. So we just said, you just come back here until everything blows over. So he's been here for over a month, but yeah.
Bonnie, have either of your children been furloughed or lost their job, or have they been lucky? And
no, well, one's in college, so that's his job. And the other one, no. So, so they're doing well, knock on wood somewhere. So they're doing okay. But there's also for those who have been furloughed or just flat out let go, right? Furloughed is sort of a nice little word.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So for those who have been fired, who have lost their jobs, there are ways to pivot. There are other, you can get unemployment. You want to get unemployment, but there are other things that you can do. I have literally worked 12 to 15 hour days every single day since all of this started, 7 days a week, helping people to pivot to virtual and helping them to increase their streams of revenue. There are endless things that people can do to make money. So, there's the obviously, they could work for Amazon, they could work for Uber, they could work for Lyft, they could do a lot of these things. And thank God for those businesses, because they have employed a lot of the people who don't have jobs now all of a sudden. But there's also things that you can do from home, and everybody's home right now.
Right.
So, it is absolutely, it's not the easiest thing in the world, but it is 100% doable. And there's no barrier to entry, none.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. And I know, Dr. Allen, you have a lot of stuff on your Facebook page daily that you go live and you'll do Reiki healing and you'll do energy talks. And that's just giving people something to kind of release that negativity. So how has the response been for those?
Yeah, I definitely think more people are going. As Bonnie just said, people are home. They're looking for something to do. And I think people are looking for alternatives to numbing out. And so, with the energy work, everything is energy. And so often we're kind of just addressing the physical. And I've been doing Reiki for 26 years. And I'm just amazed that people come, they feel the energy, and they get a lift and they get a shift. And we work on some, guided visualizations and some self-compassion exercises. So I would definitely say my group is well over 1,000 now, Dr. Allen's mastermind. So I'm finding that, people are coming in all walks. I think the thing we have in common is that we're all women at midlife. but people who are at all different areas and places in their life. So yeah, I'm finding, and my Reiki master, she is doing healings online, and certainly as a coach, I'm sure Bonnie can say the same thing, that we can do our work online. So we are very blessed to be able to have all of this bounty of technology that allows us to connect, especially if you've connected previously, if you've connected face-to-face with people. We meet on Zoom. As human beings, it's faces, and we react to faces. So as like Bonnie was saying, there are tons of businesses, ways to pivot, things to do. And I think it's a really good opportunity if you've been hating your work and you're feeling like, gosh, I want to do something different, or I want to explore something like energy work or work on myself. I have a lot of clients wanting to clear up some of their energy, clear up things around relationships, clear up some of their money mindset. It's a really good time to not, as like Bonnie was saying, just get into the freak out mode and worry about everything, but like, okay, I'm taking a little time to clean things up. Like myself personally, I am not organized. So I'm trying to like clean out old emails, clean out, just organize, declutter, and that can create a lot of abundance and wealth, and is a good place to go. So yeah, I'm having fun online. I'm enjoying it. It lights me up to inspire other people and help people shift their vibes.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I love how you said get a lift and get a shift. I love that because I'm like, God, that is such a good phrase. That's such a good tagline. Hashtag marketing online. Thank you. But it's so true, because there are so many ways that you could get a lift right now, and so many ways that you could shift your mindset. And once again, it's a choice. You might need some help. We all need help. But it doesn't mean you can't do it. You're 100% capable of doing it. Everybody is. Everybody is. And like, I'm not the most woo person. I'm not really into the most woo-woo, but I've done more things lately because like Dr. Ellen said, people are looking, people are searching. They're looking for something else. They're looking for help. They're looking for relief. And there's loads and loads of positive ways. There's also negative, but there's loads of positive ways out there, all of which are free from what I can see in terms of relief. So many people are doing things free right now. So many companies, Peloton. If you have any type of bike, Peloton is giving 90-day free trial. Peloton's never done that before, ever. Everybody should do that. Sirius XM, 90-day free trial. Quibi, 90-day free trial. So many things, and the wireless, the cell phone companies are giving more free data and more hours, and all of this is, thank God, a million times over. This did not happen a decade ago. If this exact situation happened a decade ago, before we had the capability to do what we're doing right now, we would be in much more dire straits mentally.
Oh yeah, I think so.
Absolutely.
Without the connections, yes.
Connect with somebody else virtually like that.
Yeah, I think
without the phone, actually seeing people where we couldn't have before.
Right. What were you going to say, Dr.
I was just going to say that part of it, and I love what you said, Bonnie, is just also shifting your paradigm. So I think a lot of us are like, this was not on my vision board. Like I had my whole next year mapped out. I had like weddings to go to, great conferences, speaking gigs. But if you stay stuck in this was what I was supposed to be doing, then you're in this like resistance, and you got to let that all go. And you just got to say, okay, what are those things that's been on the back of my mind that I know I need to work on in my life? And so what happens with that, just to get into sort of that law of attraction vibrational thing, when you shift your vibe, you attract opportunity. So what I have a lot of my clients or any people listening to do is just create a destination vibration. Like if you're not sure like who I'm going to be on the other side of this, think of a time in your life where you were generating an emotion that you love. Like you had a success. I know for me, I think about the birth of my daughter. I think about, times on vacation and beaches and being with people I love. You get into that space vibrationally. You imagine it for just 17 seconds, a couple times a day, and you superimpose it on where you want to be in 6 months or a year. Or if you're struggling, you think of that thing and it'll shift you because, I'll say I have more degrees than a thermometer, but I'm also woo-woo because it works. The stuff that we've been saying, I've got my calm oils right here. All of this stuff is real and it works. And if you can get yourself in a more positive place, opportunities were open for you and you'll be happier. Like Bonnie was saying, it's your choice. Do you want to be stuck in guilt, shame, depression, anxiety, or do you want to, reach for something? Maybe you're not going to go right up to joy and happiness, but can we go to gratitude? Can we go to hope? Let's go. Can we look at silver linings? Like just as you were saying, Bridgett, about being outside. I don't know your neck of the woods, but nature's been amazing. Like nature is just so happy right now. And so there's just a lot to enjoy right now. And there are a lot of reasons to be happy to be alive and enjoying your life.
Yeah. And, you were talking about gratitude, and Colleen threw some gratitude toward me. So I have to throw it toward her because
thanks.
But having this, I didn't have this podcast last year. We didn't have this. We have this right now at this time. And like Colleen says, she is a machine. She just can't stop. And that's just how she is. So she has just lined up such great things. She was supposed to be in Ireland right now. But I know she's not in Ireland.
She's sitting in a castle right now.
But she's been booking guests. Started this happy hour. Hey, let's do this. Everybody's at home. Let's have a happy hour during April at 4 o'clock on Thursdays. Let's do this because let's just do this right now. And I just am like, if I didn't have this podcast, I think I would be a lot definitely sadder, not knowing what to do with my time. And this is like, okay, I have this thing to do right now, and it's been great. So got to throw it to Colleen there.
Well, thank you. I'll take it.
You're welcome. Yeah.
It's feeling like you're doing something for someone else brings that gratitude element that we were talking about. Because if you feel like you're making a difference for even just one person, someone is out there, maybe they're feeling alone. You're about to see my cat in the corner. Sorry. Maybe they're feeling isolated. They might live alone, or maybe they're just anxious out of their mind. Like this morning, I was having such a bad anxiety day. And for me, exercise is what gets me changed. So I got on the elliptical and you have to find what works for you to kind of release that anxiety, because if you let it build up, and a lot of people find that gratitude helps. Like when you just do something for somebody else, you feel like, all right, I'm making a difference. I know, Bonnie, you get on like almost daily and do lives, but you do to help people, and you're not charging for that. You're doing that just to help people, and that gives you a sense of gratitude that you're doing it.
Definitely. And, if anyone's followed me for any period of time, they know that I almost died a couple of years ago. And one of the things that I'd heard about was gratitude journals. I mean, and I knew about journals, and as a kid, I kept a diary and things like that, but I had never had a journaling practice. I tried it, but nothing stuck. I just never kept with it. And so on December 1st of 2018, when literally I had nothing else to lose, my body was shutting down. I had all sorts of things. I had 4 doctors caring for me. I thought, I'm going to try this, and I'm going to try this gratitude thing. And I just picked up a journal that I already had. You could do the same thing on a sticky note on your hand. You could do it on the dust on your mirror if you like me, and maybe you might have some dust there. So, and I started with the same 3 words, and I've done the exact same thing for, I think it's 506 days in a row. So I just start with, I'm grateful for. That's it. Everybody can do that, right? And I could remember that. I could remember those 3 words. And so I just start with, I'm grateful for. And rather than have like a whole expository situation, which would have completely thrown me into anxiety mode, I was like, I'm going to pick one thing. I'm not even going to do 3 things, just one. I can do one thing today. And I didn't start it. I mean, I started it hoping I would stick with it, but I literally was hoping I was going to see tomorrow when I started. And so I was like, okay, I can do this today. And if I'm still here tomorrow, I'm going to try it again. And I did that. And it literally saved my life. I mean, now there's other things that I did beyond that, but that gave me something to look forward to the next day. And it made a tremendous difference in my life and in my mental health. It really did. So, and now sometimes I pick more than one thing, that I'm grateful for, but I still write it. And it's just, I'd use a small journal, 4x6 or 5x7, and it's whatever I have. I don't buy fancy ones. I buy them wherever I see them. A lot of times you'll see them in Target in the $1 bins. So you can get them anywhere. And it's just, I'm grateful for, and then I just write.
Oh, somebody said they just bought a journal at the Dollar Tree for $1.
But it's true. It shifts your, we were talking about that vibe. Yeah. It just shifts your vibe to a different place. And I think particularly if anybody's watching it, you know, you've got electricity, you've got running water, you've probably got food, you've got a roof over your head. I mean, there's so much more to be grateful for than not. And so it is, the research really shows that gratitude practice will increase your happiness. So 50% of our happiness is genetic. Some people are just naturally happier than other people. 40% is within our control. So doing the gratitude journal is really a powerful way to do it. And then 10% situational. So a lot of us are being, you know, set downward a little bit, and just doing that. That's something you can actually do, because it's kind of hard to reach for joy. Like, how do you say, I want to be joyful or happy today? But you can, like, as Bonnie was saying, you can just say, you know, I'm really grateful that I have a bed to sleep on. I have a roof over my head. I have people to care about. Who's grateful for their pet? Like I am. My rescue cat is like the best.
He wants to be the co-host.
Morris is very grateful. Yes.
Yes, that's my 16-year-old.
But it's like an oxytocin thing that we generate with compassion when we are with our animals. We generate oxytocin. It's a mammalian chemical of care and connection, and it can really help with this whole fear thing and not going into the reward dopamine place. But when we look at our animals and they look at us, the dopamine goes up. We can do it if you're listening and you're by yourself. You can just touch yourself, and this has kind of been a revelation for a lot of people following me. Just like you can touch your cheek, you can rub your arm, you can hug yourself. And what I've been doing a lot is hugging myself and then imagining a loved one is hugging me. You can try it right now, just like imagining, you know, maybe your parent, or my daughter is actually in Amsterdam. So just like imagining your child or your parent or someone you don't, you know, your best friend. And it really works. Like our brain doesn't know the difference between our imagination and the reality, but that oxytocin lifting, the gratitude, there's, like Bonnie was saying, there's so much you can do to get into the positive, the upward spiral of emotions instead of that downward spiral of emotions that everybody is being pulled in that direction. Certainly the news media. It's so great that you guys are doing this, providing an alternative source of media that's positive and uplifting versus, you know, I canceled my subscription to the Sunday paper. I love reading it, but it was making me
absolutely. Yeah, I have to turn the channel. You know, and that's what my husband's used, and he's a great guy, but he's so used to having the news channels on. I can't do it. I was like, I can't do that all the time. I've got to watch something mindless. I got Colleen hooked on Poldark, and she finished it before
I finished it before her.
And her daughter got her a coloring book, a Poldark coloring book. But you know, absolutely, you know, that whole thing is you know, I could just think of so many things that would help. And I like Bonnie too, how you didn't put the pressure on yourself about this gratitude thing, which I'm always so like hesitant about journaling. And it stems from, I think Colleen knows, I'm from a big family at like 12 kids. So I'm the 11th kid. And
just look at paper at that point.
But when I got a diary, if I tried to write anything, they would find it and they would read it out loud. So it's like, I was like, well, I'm not writing anything because they're going to sneak and find it and read it. And nothing, you had barely any privacy. So that has been a real block for me to write just anything down. But I like to how you have, okay, just one thing. There's no pressure. I don't have to be all flowery and whatever. And then just, okay, if I can do it the next day, then I can do it again. So I really like that. I like the forgiveness. There's been so much self-forgiveness talked about here. And I really want to hear that. Yeah. So
and it's interesting
because there's 4 women.
That's right.
But we've got to reset, right? I mean, there's just we think we need our self-critic. We think we need to beat ourselves up to motivate ourselves. What the research really shows is you generate more cortisol. It shuts you down. I just had this conversation with a client, and she has a fierce self-critic and a taskmaster, and she's getting all of this anxiety. and it's shutting her down and she's not happy. It just, we need to forgive ourselves and be easy with ourselves. So much of our own suffering is caused by our own hands. And I think that, again, we've got this reset button to be like, you know what? I don't want to be that workaholic, or I don't want to be anxious anymore. I'm going to really work on creating what works for me to feel better. I love coloring too. Coloring is awesome because you're engaging another part of your brain. So you can't, or listening to music, dancing. There's so many ways to shift out of the fear, anxiety, overwhelm mode and into a positive place. And once you pick you lift your vibe up, then you can think about, okay, well, maybe I want to pursue a business venture, or I want to learn something or do something, but you got to find some ways to make yourself feel good first.
And it's interesting because Psychology Today came out with an article yesterday about journaling and saying how it can really improve your mental health. And it's just getting that stuff down on paper. For some reason, it releases, like you were saying, it kind of changes your energy and shifts, and you can let it go oftentimes, or at least that's what they were saying, is that journaling can actually improve mental health and lower stress and anxiety right now, which is a great thing for people to hear and do. And you can, like Bonnie said, you could grab a piece of paper, you can write on the back of a receipt, whatever you need to do to just get it out and release it. Because if it's in your head, you're ruminating. And sometimes when you write it down, you let it go.
I like that.
Very true. And I didn't know the thing, like Dr. Ellen said, about the 50 and the 40 and the 10%. So that 50%, I have a lot of mental illness in my family. And so I am not, people are like, oh, you're happy every day. Okay. Not like, unless I really put some effort behind it, because my default is not to necessarily be that way. And I wasn't that way for a very, very, very long time. So, it took work, but I was able to do it, and I was able to do it for free, to be honest with you. So, and learning to do what I do now for a living, I started out listening to podcasts and taking a walk. And I thought, okay, if I'm going to walk for an hour, and I had to build up to that because I literally could only walk 2 hours an hour when I started. That's how bad off I was. But I thought, if I can walk for an hour, that maybe is 2, 3, or 4 podcasts. So I could educate myself for that amount of stuff. And sometimes I would have to stop and put notes in my phone for things that I had learned. So then my heart rate went down and I had to go back up. So it was a little, backwards, but, so it took me a while to lose the weight, but once again, it was for free, and you can do it. Anyone can do it. Anybody can do it. And I had nobody who believed in me. And I'm not saying that to go feel sorry for Bonnie. No, I feel enough sorry for myself. Seriously, go feel sorry for someone else. But I had nobody encouraging me for any of this. None of it, not one single solitary part of it. And I also had no money to invest to learn any of it, or to lose the weight, or to learn nutrition, none of it. So all of it is available. It's all available for free. But you just have to try.
I would say one thing just to add to that is it's wonderful inspiration to do it from self-love, not from self-loathing. Just getting back to that forgiveness piece. And this was a big thing for me. I was that, when I was in my 40s, I was that, the people who are doing the group X, with just solid muscle. You've all seen them, right? And they're like,
oh yeah,
never good enough. And then through my PhD, I was fortunate enough to learn self-compassion and just do the 180 on that, doing it, whether it's, learning about business or learning a new skill, losing the weight, getting in shape, whatever, just do it because you love yourself, not because you loathe yourself. When I was a personal fitness trainer, it was always like, well, when you get there, when you have that 6-pack, well, then you'll feel good about yourself. And it was never the 6-pack. You get to the 6-pack and then, the guns weren't okay. So it was like, we're so used to looking at what's wrong with ourselves, and there's nothing wrong with any of us. But that's the way we're programmed. We've got this internalized self-critic. So to do things because you want to be better and have a bigger life and be happier, not because you don't like the way you are.
Absolutely.
And you deserve to be happier, and you deserve a better life. You deserve to have anything in the world that you want simply because you're here on the planet. That's it. You don't have to do anything to deserve it. You already deserve it.
But how does someone shift their mindset when they've spent so long thinking, if only I did this, I'll be happy. If only I do that. How do they get to that being in the now that I can just be happy exactly the way I am?
Well, partially is, so you hit on it, just be in the now. So work on mindfulness, maybe finding some things when you're mindful, you shift out of that brain mode where you're always like looking for danger, looking for what's wrong. And starting to practice self-compassion, even if that's just look at your own self-talk, look at the way you're talking to yourself, look at that self-critic on your back. And then like what I have people do a lot is, and people can do that even now when we're talking about journaling, thinking about one thing you've been beating yourself up about. So maybe it's like, I need to be a better parent. I need to be a better partner. I should lose that weight. I should be doing more in my business. I should find new business, whatever it is. Think about what you've been beating yourself up about. And then think about that voice of the self-critic and how that feels. So just do that a little bit. You can write it out. You can just sort of talk to your self-critic and just give yourself some compassion for how mean you've been to yourself. And then once you've done that, bring in that voice of self-compassion that says, you know, I love you and I don't want you to suffer. I want you, as Bonnie said, you deserve to have a beautiful life, and just lean into that. Like, and if it's hard for you to do, imagine that it's your best friend or like a good mentor talking to you saying, yes, come on, Ellen, you can do this. You got this. So it just takes some, you know, mindfulness of just creating some space for the normal way that your usual modus operandi for how you treat yourself, watching that and just saying, setting an intention, like I want to feel good about myself now. Like that exercise program starts now. It starts with that, you know, that you probably went for 5 or 10 minutes. I have some clients who are really struggling. They can do 10, 15 minutes. And then the next week they can do a little more. So just be okay with where you are right now. Create, and also use that visualization of like, who do you want to be, but not from that, again, that place of self-loathing, but new vision board, you know, like thinking about what's that thing you want to do. So I hope that answers your question, but just sort of changing that self-talk, being patient with yourself at the same time, seeing if you can bring in a little bit of that voice of self-compassion that says, yeah, you got this. I believe in you.
And like for me, I mean, once again, I had to do it all myself, but what finally pushed me to do it
was just
our cat's staring at the camera.
Actually, like hashtag cat bomb. But for me, I didn't want my sons. I mean, especially if they were girls, but even maybe more so because they were boys. I didn't want them to see me weak any longer. Mm-hmm. And I had been very weak for all of my younger son's life through 19. So for the first 19 years of his life, or all of his life to 19. And for, you know, the first 19 years of my 24-year-old's life. And finally I was like, this ends. I don't want them to think that it's okay to be weak. I don't want them to think that it's okay to accept. I was in an abusive marriage, and the police knew our house a lot. So I didn't want them to think that it was okay to do this stuff anymore. And so I made a conscious choice to make sure that they weren't going to think that anymore, that if nothing else, if it continued, which of course it did until we got divorced, if it continued, at least they were going to hear from me, what you just saw is not okay. Mm-hmm. What you just saw is not what you're going to do when you grow up and you have a partner and you're a dad. That is not okay. It's not okay for anybody. Yes, he did just do it. Mm-hmm. No, it's not okay. I'm telling you, it's not okay. Mm-hmm. And at first, I would whisper it away from his earshot. And then when I got more confident, and it took a long time, I did it within his earshot. Mm-hmm. And then and only then is when it started to slow down. Now, it could have escalated just the same. And trust me, I had to more than once with each of my children get in between my husband and them. And I was fully prepared to take whatever it was going to take, but I was going to make sure that they were okay. So there were many things that I had to deal with. So when I say that it is a choice to be happy and it is a choice to be grateful and that you 100% have control over this stuff, I really mean it. And you do. And thank God for people like Dr. Ellen who can, help us with how exactly am I supposed to do this shit? Like how, thank God for that. And that, that she does the Reiki and that she has the mastermind and things like that. And thank God that you all have, have the group, the Facebook group, and that you have the podcast. And thank God that we have platforms like this so that I can go on and tell people how they can pivot their businesses and start making money today. And, things like this. Thank goodness for all of that. But it is also a choice and you really can do it. You really can. Shit, if I can do it, anyone can do it.
Wow. And you're someone that had to live it, so you know it. So
Right.
you can do it. Wow. That is something. That is so important too, when you teaching your children that is so important. What a great lesson that you've taught them. I mean, because I feel like Colleen and I, what we say, we want our daughters to have their midlife easier. She has 2 daughters. I have 1 daughter, and we just want their midlife to be easier. But that is so important for your boys. I just am like, yes, just to let them know to stop this. This isn't good. So, wow.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
But it is true. A lot of times, even if you're not at a point where you can get there on your own. If you can get there for your children or for somebody you love, as you get through that journey, like Bonnie was saying, you get a little more confident, so you're doing it for yourself. So sometimes if someone else can kind of give you that nudge,
right,
you still can get there. But you do have to gain some confidence and self-love. Self-compassion and self-love for women, it's so hard, whether it be because of the media or just our generations or whatever. But for my children, I want them to understand that they can just love themselves for who they are. They are powerful on their own. They don't need to be with somebody else. And it's hard to do in this generation.
It is. Yeah. And I felt like growing up, that was so expected. You have to have a partner. You have to have, this is how the life plan works. And they weren't rude about, I love my family. So I'm not trying to be ugly about that. That was great, but that was just what was expected.
Generational too.
It's generational. And then I've had siblings that did that. And then afterward, they were like, oh, why did I do that? Like, what? Why did I get married at such a young age or whatever happened? But I do want that for my children as well. And not saying I'm happy that neither of them are in a relationship. If they were in a relationship, that's fine. But I'm happy that they don't feel that pressure that they have to be in that.
That they know it's a choice, because it is a choice.
It's a choice.
Do you find, Dr. Ellen, that people are kind of feeling closer or more grateful for their loved ones during this time?
I find both. If you have good relationships and you want to work on them, it's great. We're grateful. Like I have and I resonate with your story, Bonnie, because I was in a suck-ass marriage. And I stayed for way long, and I felt so hypocritical because all my clients were having these great lives and I was so unhappy, but I was scared. Like I was scared of like what would happen to the kids. And on the outside, our marriage looked great and we'd worked together. And it was out of uncertainty, but to say, so if I'm so grateful that I'm with somebody now that we're just so compatible. So I think that if the relationship is good and it's energy, right? If you have a good vibe, like you were saying, Bridgett, like you love having your kids home and you're grateful for this time. So I think that if the relationship is good and you're working on it and you're going to work together and make it work and be a comfort for each other, awesome. If it's really problematic, and I'm reading about the Eckhart Tolle's the pain body. We have these pain bodies, and sometimes the pain bodies with my ex-husband would be like we would be at each other. Like I'm a tiger, power, and he's a monkey. We'd be ripping each other to shreds, and it kind of felt good. And it was horrible. Like when I'm with him now, I'm like, oh, this energy. But to answer your question, I think that if the relationship's got legs, it's lovely. And we're happy to be with people that we love, like our pets, right? And if there's problems, like after what happened in China,
hi, Rob.
We had, the divorce rate went way, way up. People wanted to leave. So yeah.
And what about you, Bonnie? Do you think that people are finding gratitude for being close to their family during this time, or are they ready for to lend them out to other people?
Both. Definitely both. I feel like, and people describe the reason behind all of this, in lots of different ways. And some people will say, well, everything, the energy, we all needed to slow down. And so, the skies parted and whatever, now we have to slow down. So, and like, I don't totally discount that, to be honest with you, but, part of it is parents are going nuts because they didn't expect the people to come home that are now inhabiting their house. Like they were there, right? Like finally we launched them and now they're back, or they're now the teacher. They didn't want to be a teacher. They're a housewife. They're a clothing designer. Now all of a sudden they're a teacher too. They didn't want to do that. Right. So part of them makes them want to pull their hair out and run away and hide. But the other part of that is that parents are, in a sense, there's really no other way to say this, are being forced to get to know their kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you've read The Hurried Child before or not, but, before, people were shuffling their kids to and fro and to and fro. And then all of a sudden it's 8:00 and quick shower and eat and get to bed and do it all over again the next day. And then make sure that you've got a whole laundry list of stuff to get yourself into college. Mm-hmm. Right?
Oh, yeah. All that has just stopped, like SAT.
Right. And so now families are actually getting to know each other where they would have absolutely never before. They're getting to know their spouse more, for good or bad. They're getting to know their kids more, once again, for good or bad. But they wouldn't have had the opportunity because they would have never made the opportunity, because they would have continued on that endless hamster wheel of, I got to do this, and I'll do it when I'm ready, and I'll do it when I have time, and nobody's ever ready and nobody ever has time.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And then all of a sudden, the kids leave to college, and you're happy that you're an empty nester, but you don't know who just left. You don't really know them. And thank God you weren't responsible for writing their essays, because you have no idea who they are. And that is what had been happening for years and years and years. Mm-hmm. And now maybe that's part of the silver lining of all of this.
Mm-hmm. Which is a great way to look at it. It really is. For whoever is home with you, whether your parents are living with you now, or, you're getting that time to just kind of learn about each other. I want to make sure before we end this that people know how to get in touch with both of you. So Dr. Ellen, can you start and just let the audience know how to get in touch with you?
Sure. Well, on Facebook, I am at Dr. Ellen Albertson, as well as Dr. Ellen's Mastermind, which is my private group where I'm doing the Reiki healing. I play with some tarot in there as well. I do a lot of self-compassion meditations. And then you can just Google me. Just Google the MIdlife Whisperer. I'll pop up. Or Dr. Ellen Albertson, I'll pop up. And thank you, Liz. I actually have to go. I've got a client, but I really appreciate it. And it's been such a joy to connect with you.
Yes, great to see you again.
Thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
Yes.
And Bonnie, how can people
nice to meet you, Bonnie?
So yeah, you can Google Bonnie L. Frank, and I'll pop up all over the place. You can go to my website, bonnielfrank.com. Also, I'm all over the internet. I have free loads and loads and loads of free coaching on every live streaming platform that I'm on. Do not look for me on TikTok.
We said the same.
My name.
We are not on there.
I reserved my name, but it took me all these months just to do that, because that is a rabbit hole I am not willing to go down. But everywhere else, you'll find good information.
And Bonnie, I wanted to tell you, being a former teacher, do you ever see Jerry Brooks, his Instagram or Facebook things? He's a principal in Kentucky. So I used to teach in Kentucky, but he wasn't my principal. He's in another county. He has
writing him down.
Oh yeah. Jerry with a G, Gerry Brooks. They are the funniest things. He did one the other day about observations. Like, I need to do my observation for the parent like he was doing a classroom observation. It was so funny. I was like, yeah. So you would appreciate it.
Teachers should.
Oh, yes. It was hilarious.
Thank you, Bonnie, for being on. We appreciate it so much.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Wonderful.
Just the helpful things you said. So thank you so much.
And thanks everybody for watching. We will see you next week.
Yes. Bye-bye.
Bye.